She walked into the boutique like any other customer, but what happened next left the store staff and the IC manager in tears. When the truth about her identity was revealed, the show was not only surprising, it was memorable. The boutique on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. Gleaming glass doors, formed of immaculate, gleaming marble, opened onto a world of luxury. Shelves filled with designer handbags, jewels glittered under careful lighting, and clothes priced beyond most people's monthly income. This was not a place to be. At least, that's how Helena, the boutique manager, saw it. Helena built her reputation on a simple principle: protecting the brand. She ran the store with a firm hand. No noise among the employees, no detail out of place, and absolutely no tolerance for people who don't. Tall, with impeccable hair and an elegant dress, Helena was the guardian of this exclusive world. Exclusivity is not just about price. It's about image, she always said. That Sunday was no different. The store echoed softly with classical music. Helena stood at the entrance, her eyes alert for anything out of place. Then the doors opened. Tall, elegant, wearing dark glasses and a simple cream dress. Her heels clicked on the marble floor as she entered the store. Her hand glided lightly over a rack of silk scarves. It was clear to Helena that this woman was not a regular customer. There was something slightly off about her. Maybe it was the dress being too simple. Or maybe it was the way she stood a little too far away from the jewelry display. Helena's instinct sharpened. Quickly approaching, she spoke with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Madam, we have a private shopping appointment coming up soon. Please leave." The woman lowered her glasses, revealing bright eyes that momentarily caught Helena off guard. There was a glint of recognition. Had Helena seen her before? But she quickly shrugged it off. "I assure you I will only be a moment," the woman said in a calm, firm tone. "I just wanted to take a look." Helena ends. Humility gave way to firm resolve. "I'm sorry, but this is a private establishment. If you would like to be served, we would be happy to accommodate you." For a brief moment, the woman's expression didn't change. Then, without saying a word, she put her glasses back on and left. Her arms swung. Helena watched her go, feeling a sense of satisfaction. As far as she was concerned, she had done her duty, to protect the brand. But something about the encounter bothered her. There was a quiet intensity in the woman's demeanor, as if she were. Helena didn't think much of the incident at first. In her line of work, people came and went. Some tried to infiltrate this world of luxury, hoping to appear richer or more important than they really were. She'd seen it all. Wannabe influencers carrying fake designer handbags, curious tourists who didn't understand the concept of exclusive service, and even the occasional tabloid reporter looking for a way to. As the day wore on, Helena's attention turned to her usual routine. She meticulously oversaw a new batch of couture garments, ensuring that each piece was perfectly pressed before being displayed. She checked the lighting in the main display case, ensuring that each diamond sparkled exactly as it should. For her, the routine was a stage, and she was the director. No detail was too small to escape her attention. But that night, as she closed up shop and headed home, the memory of the mysterious woman began to haunt her. There was something about her, something intense and unexpected, as if she was used to being treated with suspicion. Helena had dismissed her with the confidence of someone who believed she had all the power. But now she wondered, who was this woman really? The next morning, Helena's routine began as usual. She arrived early, walking around the store to make sure everything was in its proper place. By noon, whispers began to spread among the employees. One of the saleswomen, a young woman named Sophia, approached her. "Did you hear about the woman from yesterday?" Sophia asked, her voice low but with a hint of. Helena raised an eyebrow. Sophia looked around before continuing. "One of the customers this morning said it was Melania Trump." Helena stepped back, her hand gripping the edge of the counter. She looked at Sophia, the words falling slowly. "Melania Trump?" she repeated, her tone skeptical.
Yes.
Helena pulled back. Is it true? Had she, in her rigid adherence to protocol, dismissed one of the most recognizable women in the world? A wave of despair washed over her, but she quickly masked it with her. "It doesn't matter who she is," she said quickly. "Rules are rules." We can't let just anyone in without a checkup. But deep down, Helena knew it wasn't just anyone. And as she tried to concentrate on her work, an agonizing feeling lingered. If it really was Melania Trump, what would happen next? News spread faster than Helena could have expected. By the afternoon, the boutique was filled with whispers from every employee and customer. As Helena tried to maintain an air of control, the laughter only grew louder. She looked so elegant, one customer commented, examining the bags. I can't believe anyone would treat her like that. I heard she left without saying a word, said another. So classy, but you know she was furious. Helena, hearing snippets of these conversations, felt a sinking feeling in her stomach. The world of high fashion wasn't just about luxury. It was built on reputation. A single misstep, especially involving someone like Melania Trump, could ruin a brand for years. That night, as Helena scrolled through her phone, she felt a tightness in her chest. Social media had picked up the story. Someone, probably a customer, had posted a vague but unpleasant account of the incident. A certain boutique manager just kicked out one of America's most famous women for her inappropriate behavior at a high-end establishment. While the post didn't name the boutique, the comments were rife with speculation. People were tagging brands, seeking clarification, and some even accusing themselves of knowing exactly which store it was. Helena's head was spinning. She tossed her phone aside, trying to convince herself that the storm would pass. People always exaggerate online, she thought. But her confidence was shaken. The next day, her worries grew worse. A local journalist picked up the story, running a short segment speculating about the identity of the boutique. While they didn't confirm anything, the coverage was enough to make her feel exposed. Customers began arriving, not just to buy but to gossip. One woman, holding a latte and wearing sunglasses, stepped away from her friend and shouted loudly, "That's the store, isn't it?" Helena's facade began to crumble. Still, she kept her composure. She was certain of one thing. Melania would not return. Someone as famous as her would not mind revisiting the scene of an insult. But Helena was wrong. The return was coming, and it would be impossible to ignore. It happened on a Friday afternoon, as the boutique was nearing the end of its business day. The showroom was quiet, with well-dressed customers browsing the shelves and salespeople ready to serve them. Helena stood near the cashier's counter, exuding an air of authority. But even she couldn't have anticipated what was about to happen. The glass doors slammed open, and in walked the woman Helena had dismissed so quickly. Melania Trump. But this time, she wasn't alone. A small entourage followed her. A security detail in suits, a woman holding a fur coat, and another figure who appeared to be an advertising executive. Behind them, several photographers had taken up positions at the entrance. The photographers' cameras clicked in a frenzy. The quiet hum of the boutique was replaced by shouts and a forest of flashbulbs. Melania stood tall and composed, her expression inscrutable. She wore a simple but commanding black dress, paired with a set of diamonds that caught the light with every movement. Her presence was magnetic, drawing all eyes to her. Helena's heart sank. Her arms felt heavy and her hands grew cold as her eyes met Melania's, who stared at her for what seemed like an eternity. There was no anger in her gaze, only an air of quiet control that embarrassed Helena more than any confrontation could have. "Good afternoon," Melania said, her voice calm but firm. "I'd like to take a look now. Is that allowed?" The question hung in the air, carrying a weight that was impossible to ignore. Every employee in the room held their breath, their eyes darting from Melania to Helena. The customers whispered behind perfectly manicured hands, their curiosity barely contained. Helena's instinct screamed at her to say something, anything to regain control of the situation, but no words came out. Instead, she nodded stiffly, stepping aside to allow Melania to enter the store she had been so abruptly ejected from just a few days earlier. As Melania walked through the store, her entourage followed closely behind, taking in every detail. She took her time. She examined each piece, her fingers gliding over the fabrics and her eyes lingering on the price tags. To Helena, it felt less like a purchase and more like an assessment, as if Melania were taking note of every corner of the store and every mistake Helena had made. The tension in the store was palpable. Even the other customers seemed to back away a little. Their movements became more subtle as they tried to blend into the scene. Melania, however, seemed to gain authority with each passing second. But the moment that would truly change everything was yet to come. The atmosphere in the store became electric, a mix of suspense and anticipation that no one could ignore. The customers pretended to examine the shelves, but kept their eyes open, arms crossed, watching. The employees were attentive, not knowing what to do, but desperate not to miss the moment. Helena, for her part, tried to blend in with the environment, but it was impossible. Melania's presence had shifted the focus directly to her. As Melania approached the jewelry display, her gaze drifted before pausing on an elaborate diamond ring. She glanced at the saleswoman nearby, a junior employee named Clara, who stepped forward, trying to speak to her. "May I see this piece?" Melania asked, her tone polite but authoritative. Clara hesitated for a moment, but managed to remove the ring and place it on the counter. "Of course, ma'am." Melania studied the piece for a moment before looking at Clara. "What do you think?" she asked, directing the question not to her entourage but to Helena, who stood frozen a few feet away. The question took Helena by surprise. She hesitated, trying to find her voice. "It's a beautiful piece. One of our most beautiful," she said, her words sounding hollow even to herself. Melania nodded slowly, then turned her attention to Clara. "I'll take it," she said with a small smile, handing her black credit card across the counter. When Clara had completed the transaction, Melania turned to Helena. Her expression remained calm, almost serene, but her words cut through the air like a blade. "It's important, don't you think, to treat everyone with respect, especially when you don't know who they are?" The store fell silent. All eyes were on Helena, who felt as if the ground might give way beneath her feet. She struggled to form a response, but Melania wasn't expecting one. Instead, she gestured to her publicist, who handed her a small envelope. "This is for your employees," Melania said, handing the envelope to Helena, a token of appreciation for their professionalism. Helena hesitated before taking it. The envelope was heavier than she had expected, and when she opened it later, she discovered that it contained a check for a staggering amount to be divided among the employees. It was a gesture of generosity that contrasted sharply with the silence she had received. But Melania wasn't done yet. She turned to Clara, who was still holding the diamond ring, and offered her a warm smile. "Thank you for your help today. You were wonderful." With that, she walked toward the door, her entourage following a step behind. As she left, the photographers outside gathered, their cameras capturing every moment of her exit. Inside, the boutique remained silent. Customers chatted among themselves, and employees exchanged astonished glances. Helena stood still, her mind racing. She had underestimated this woman once, but the lesson she learned would be one she would never forget. The boutique remained unusually quiet long after Melania had left. Customers filed out, many with their purchases in hand, but all with stories they couldn't wait to share. The employees, still processing the events, exchanged hushed conversations in the back of the store. Helena stood near the jewelry display, her face pale and her hands shaking slightly as she stared at the envelope Melania had handed her. She retreated to her office, closing the door behind her. Her hands shook as she took the check out of the envelope. Her eyes widened when she saw the amount. It was enough to give each employee a significant bonus. A gesture of generosity that only magnified the weight of Helena's mistake. She placed the check on her desk, her thoughts racing. Helena had always prided herself on her professionalism and judgment. But today, her own prejudices had been exposed. She had dismissed someone based on appearances, without stopping to consider who they might be or what they deserved. Her mantra of protecting the brand suddenly seemed hollow when compared to the consequences of her actions. As she replayed this scene in her mind, a new realization dawned. The boutique wasn't just about exclusivity or luxury. It was about experience. And the experience she had offered Melania had been one of rejection, not respect. Helena felt a deep pang of shame, knowing that her actions had not only tarnished her own reputation, but could have also damaged the store. The knock on the door startled her. It was Clara, hesitantly standing in the doorway. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Helena smiled, though her throat was tight. "I'm fine," she managed to say. But Clara didn't leave. "You know," Clara began, her voice hesitant. She wasn't mad. I mean, not really. She felt she needed to make a point, not humiliate anyone. Helena met Clara's gaze and saw no judgment, just silent understanding. It was a small gesture of kindness that brought Helena back to reality. She wasn't beyond redemption, but she needed to make changes. "Thank you, Clara," Helena said, her voice more sincere than it had been in a long time. "And thank you for being everything I wasn't today." Clara smiled slightly before leaving the office. Helena sat in her chair, the check still in her hand, and made a decision. It was time to rebuild, not only her image, but the confidence that had been shaken. The next morning, Helena arrived at the store earlier than ever. The air was warm, and the sun was beginning to bathe the streets in a golden light. She took a deep breath before opening the doors, determined to face the day with a new sense of purpose. Her first order of business was to gather the employees for a meeting. They walked in, exchanging curious glances as they sat in the small lounge area. Clara, Sophia, and the others watched Helena closely, sensing something different in her face. "I owe you all an apology," Helena began, her voice firm but thick with emotion. "Yesterday, I let my prejudices cloud my judgment. I treated someone unfairly, and in doing so, I let you all down. That is not the kind of leader I want to be, and that is not the kind of example I want to set." The room fell silent, but the weight of her words hung in the air. Helena continued, "We have an opportunity to learn from this. Respect and kindness should not depend on who someone is or who we think they are. This is a lesson I need to remember, and I hope we can all take it forward." She placed the envelope Melania had given her on the table. "This check is for all of you. It's a testament to how well you coped yesterday, despite my difficulties. You deserve it." A wave of surprise and gratitude ran through the room. Clara, who had been the most directly involved, said, "Thank you, Helena. I think we all learned something yesterday." Helena nodded, feeling a sense of relief. She wasn't perfect, but she was taking steps toward making amends. The boutique wasn't just a store. It was a reflection of the people who worked there. And from that day forward, Helena vowed to reflect the values of respect, inclusion, and grace. As the employees returned to their duties, the boutique began to fill with customers. Helena observed them with a new perspective, no longer seeing them as mere visitors, but as individuals with stories, value, and dignity. Each interaction became an opportunity to demonstrate the lessons she had learned. In the days that followed, news of Melania's visit faded from the headlines, replaced by news stories. But for Helena and her staff, the impact remained. The encounter had been a turning point, a reminder of the importance of humility and the power of second chances. And in a world so prone to judgment, they had learned the value of choosing kindness instead. Life often presents us with moments that test our character. This story serves as a reminder to approach each person with respect and compassion, no matter who they are. Assumptions can lead to mistakes, but acknowledging them and learning from them is what truly defines us. If this story resonated with you, consider how you can demonstrate kindness in your own life. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire reflection and growth.